Perfect. I call to order the October 12th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting. Commissioner Work, could you please lead us on the Pledge of Allegiance?
No, I figured it out. I think.
We can hear
Right, sorry. Sorry about that. Please stand. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Secretary Spencer, can you please take roll call?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Carrillo,
Here.
Commissioner Kofelt,
Here.
Commissioner Daniels,
Here.
Commissioner Deal,
Here.
Commissioner Getzelman,
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Here.
Commissioner Monsalve,
Here.
Commissioner Roberts, absent, Commissioner Work,
Here.
and Chair Mendoza.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. This is time set aside for public comment on anything that is not on today's agenda. And Ms. Magana, we can check to see if we have any written correspondence from the public on anything that is not on today's agenda.
We have no written correspondence.
Thank you. Do we have any additions, deletions, or corrections on any of today's items?
Yes, for the record, distributed via email was correspondence we received from the public for agenda item number 3, PLN 210037, Burrum. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a time set aside for commissioner comments or requests on anything that is not on today's agenda. Commissioner Deal.
Thank you. I apologize for the barking dogs. I noticed that in the referrals, I guess it is, maybe I'll wait till referrals. Cancel that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Canceled. Okay. And now we move over to the consent calendar. Would any commissioner like to pull items from today's consent calendar? Commissioner Deal?
Sorry, my hand is still up.
Would any member of the public like to pull an item for today's discussions?
Chair, I just wanted to comment so the commission's aware that an assembly bill was passed. It's 2449, and it does make changes to the Brown Act that will become effective in January of 2023. And my office is working on a memo that I will send to the commission, and maybe I'll even agendize it with you all so we can go over what those changes mean. But it incorporates some of AB 361 when a state of emergency is in effect, but it does set some new rules for attending remotely. So maybe next time we meet, I can go over those changes with you all. I just wanted to flag it because it was signed into law recently.
Thank you. That's an excellent idea. Thank you, Ms. Dillon.
Sure.
Any commissioner like to make a motion to pull the items that we can vote on? Here's somebody. So I guess I would make a motion to approve today's consent calendar. If I can get a second, that we can have a vote on it.
Second, Commissioner Carrillo.
Thank you, Commissioner Carrillo. You have a motion by myself, Commissioner Mendoza, and a second by Commissioner Carrillo. Can we please take a vote, Mr. Spencer?
Yes. Commissioner Carrillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Kofelt,
Yes.
Commissioner Daniels,
Yes.
Commissioner Deal,
Yes.
Commissioner Getzelman,
Sure.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Monsalve,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts, absent, Commissioner Work,
Yes.
and Chair Mendoza.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Spencer. And now we move over to PLN 210037. Staff, whenever you're ready. Commissioner Deal, before we do that, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I didn't get referrals. It was a different item from commissioner comments. If I might just address the referrals or if we're going to come back to them later.
You know what, before we move over to today's first schedule item, why don't we do that? Why don't we do it now?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to ask staff if they could re-include in our referral matrix the regular reports on affordable housing projects that are in process. That's anything that has an application that's been deemed complete. And then to add to that, simply to ask if that could be separated between inland and coastal, because I think my reasoning for this referral is for us to watch and see if there's any consistent barriers we can identify that might be something we'd like to agendize. And so to do that, the rules are very different in both of those areas. And having just been grappling with the Big Sur land use plan and the barriers to housing production there, I become very aware that there are not many opportunities for affordable housing of any sort in the coastal zone. And I wanted to do all we could to at least recognize and potentially think of anything we can think of to address that. So I'd like to ask if we could add, we had that on the agenda for a while. I mean, on the referral matrix for a while. I'd like to put it back on so we keep the light on that priority and then add separating those from the inland and the coastal zone. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Deal. Mr. Lindquist?
Good morning, Chair Mendoza. If I may, Commissioner Deal, I just a little point of clarification that there's a friendly amendment. I know I'm not a commissioner, but might ask for some further clarity. This is item 3 on the referral matrix, that we can definitely include the distinction between the coastal and the inland. It currently says quarterly reports, and what we've discovered is that quarterly, there isn't much change in activity from quarter to quarter. And perhaps maybe we break this up into a biannual or every 6 months reporting back to the commission if the commission desires. Otherwise, I'm not certain you'd see much change quarter to quarter unless that is in fact what you'd like to see. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Lindquist. Commissioner Deal?
Thank you. Through the chair, no, I'm really asking quarterly. And if there is no change, that is information. Because we want to see change. We want to see new projects. If we're not seeing them, that's telling us that the barriers are still there, that the barriers are effective barriers. And it also keeps our attention focused on that issue, which I think many of us would agree is of primary importance. So I just continue to ask quarterly, specifically because there is no change, if that makes any sense.
It does. Thank you for the clarity.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Commissioner Deal. Thank you, Mr. Lindquist. Commissioner Daniel?
Yes, thank you, Chair Mendoza. I am wondering if we could agendize something similar to what we did last year when SB 9 and SB 10 passed. And if there's anything that we could get on the agenda from staff to talk about some of the big 2022 housing legislation that passed. Specifically, I'm thinking about AB 2011 and SB 6. And I'm curious how either of these might play out in Monterey County. I think last year the presentation was really helpful, even though we found out that, for example, SB 9 didn't have as much opportunity in Monterey County's unincorporated areas, but because of other restrictions, I would love to have a similar presentation. Those are just the two bills that I'm familiar with. I know there was a whole wealth of housing legislation this year. And so it would be great to find out how they might play out and help with the development of housing in Monterey County specifically. So if we could agendize something like that, if you agree, that would be great.
Thank you, Commissioner Daniels. Mr. Lindquist, would you like to answer him? Or Mr. Spencer? Answer?
Yeah. I think that we will certainly look into it and we can agendize something if there's. I'm not prepared yet to discuss what's in those bills. I actually haven't followed those very closely yet, so we'll look into them. We'll put them on the referral matrix for now, and we will either schedule them or give you an update before we do something different.
Through the chair, something that just occurred to me, and in line with what Mr. Spencer just said, is I'll bet someone from Housing and Community Development might be available from the state to come and give a short presentation, as they will need to be up to speed. And even with that presentation, we could then decipher, where there may be obstacles in Monterey County or other types of prohibitions to that. So even if it's just Housing and Community Development, I bet we could get someone from the state to come and help us all get up to speed. That might be one option.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Daniels. Mr. Spencer could probably look into that, though. See if we can-
Yes.
Okay.
We will look into it.
Thank you. You have some homework. Perfect. Okay, now we move on to PLN 210037. Claire Brown, staff, whenever you're ready.
Good morning, commissioners. At the last Planning Commission hearing, the Planning Commission continued this item to a date certain and requested some clarifications on the regulatory differences between accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units. After the hearing on October 6th, the agent for the applicant requested that this item be continued again to a date certain in order to coordinate with their applicant on whether they would want to propose an accessory dwelling unit or a junior accessory dwelling unit. So staff is recommending that this item be continued to a date certain of October 26th, where we would come back with a recommendation and answers on those questions regarding accessory dwelling units.
Thank you, Mr. Angelo. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Angelo on the continuance of this item? And I think we'll also take public comment if there is any. I think that's the correct thing to do. Don't see any commissioner hands. We'll open up public comment. Commissioner Deal.
Is public comment still on, Mr. Chair? I didn't mean to interrupt.
I don't see any hands, so I think we can end that and come back to the commission. So it's your turn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I take more than my turn. I'm aware of that.
Oh, that's great.
I'd like to move that we continue this item as requested by the applicant to October 26, 2022.
Thank you, Commissioner Deal. Do we have a second?
I'd be happy to second that motion, Commissioner Daniels.
Thank you, Commissioner Daniels. We have a motion by Commissioner Deal and a second by Commissioner Daniels. Mr. Spencer, can you please take a vote?
Yes. Commissioner Creo,
Yes.
Commissioner Kofelt,
Yes.
Commissioner Daniels,
Yes.
Commissioner Deal,
yes,
Commissioner Getzelman,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
yes,
Commissioner Monsalve,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts, absent, Commissioner Work,
yes,
and Chair Mendoza.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you, Mr. Spencer. And now we move on to PLN 210324. Staff, whenever you're ready for your presentation.
Hi, good morning. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Good morning, Chair Mendoza and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Marlene Garcia, Project Planner for Korean PLN 210324. The property is located at 9 Wildboar Run in Carmel, situated on a 13.3 acre parcel in the Santa Lucia Preserve with the zoning designation of rural grazing, 10 acres per unit with a design control, site plan review, and residential allocation zoning overlays. It is located in the Carmel Valley Master Plan area. This site is approximately 4.2 miles east of Scenic Highway 1 and 2.1 miles south of Carmel Valley Road. The action today includes approve a combined development and design approval to allow construction of a 2,948 square foot single-story family dwelling with a 321 square foot screen porch, a 681 square foot detached garage, a 640 square foot outdoor dining area, pool terrace, and associated site improvements, and a use permit to allow removal of 3 coast live oak trees. This site is part of the Santa Lucia Preserve subdivision, Phase E of the Potrero subdivision. Phase E of the Santa Lucia Preserve is in a densely forested rural area of Carmel Valley. Each individual parcel in this subdivision contains the dedicated homeland boundaries, also known as building envelopes, which indicate the designated area for development. The proposed one-story dwelling is compatible with the surrounding neighborhood character in terms of size, color, and location. The project complies with applicable site development standards, Monterey County Code, and Carmel Valley Master Plan policies. The architecture design is simple and blends in well with the natural environment, and it is not visible from any public viewing area. Enhancing the architecture style, the structures incorporate earth tone colors and materials that consist of adobe brick building exterior walls, limestone retaining walls, clay tile roofing, as well introducing non-reflected standing seam metal roofing supported by painted olive green wood posts and beams, dark bronze metal treatment at doors and windows. The subject application requests a removal of 3 coast live oak trees, 3 more than allotted in Phase E. None of these trees proposed for removal are landmark trees. No tree removal was assigned for lot E7 in the EIR, therefore, a use permit is required in this case. Based on substantial evidence, the trees proposed for removal within the Potrero subdivision are the minimum required. It will not involve a risk of adverse environmental impacts. Relocating the garage east will also result in impacting additional trees. Therefore, the proposed tree removal is consistent with applicable sections of Monterey County Code pertaining to tree removal. As a result of the project, it has been recommended by the arborist that the owner replants a total of 9 trees, which is a 3-to-1 ratio replacement, and incorporates protection measures to compensate for possible failure of some new trees. The replacement trees will be combination of 36-inch box, various oaks, and will be planted throughout the homeland boundary. This has been applied as condition of approval number 6. An addendum has been prepared to address tree removal since it was more than the maximum allotted amount for this particular lot. As part of the EIR of the Santa Lucia Preserve, removal of 280 trees was approved for the Phase E Potrero subdivision. To date, 188 trees have been approved for removal. If approved, the 3 trees proposed for removal on Lot E7 will account for an updated total of 191 trees, which will still be within the approved amount to be removed. At this time, staff recommends adding condition of approval number 11, indemnification agreement. With that change, staff recommends the Planning Commission consider an addendum together with the Santa Lucia Preserve EIR, approve a combined development permit consisting of an administrative permit and design approval to allow construction of a single-story family dwelling with a screen porch, a detached garage, an outdoor dining area, pool terrace, and associated site improvements, and a use permit to allow removal of 3 coast live oak trees. Staff concludes the presentation and is available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Good presentation. Commissioner Deal?
Thank you. I would also like to commend Ms. Garcia for being one of the staff members who has, looks like apparently, in every respect that I can see, successfully navigated the complex tree requirements, as Mr. Spencer will understand, for this subdivision. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Just one question, and this is more general than in this case. When we determine that the development is not visible from any public viewing area, is staff comfortable that the development will not be visible from any public viewing area, including the required fire clearance? And that would be with respect to driveways and all of that. So to get it, and again, this is sort of more something I'd like to see regularly, that we consider the results of the required fire clearance in our visual analysis. So is staff comfortable in this case? That's it.
Right.
Thank you, Commissioner Deal. Do we have any other commissioner questions? Don't see any. Is the applicant or the applicant's representative here with us today?
Yes, I am. Chair Mendoza, my name is Joel Panzer with Maureen Ruck Planning Consultants. Also on the call is Doug Schaefer with McHenry Schaefer Architects, the architectural designer for the project. I'd like to compliment Ms. Garcia, as Commissioner Deal has noted. She really delved in and understands the preserve, which has a fairly complex nature. And that analysis was not only in her presentation, but was also included in the staff report. We've read the staff report. It's thorough and is highly accurate. We've read the findings and evidence as well as the conditions of approval, and we're in agreement with that. Ms. Garcia has indicated that they would like to add condition number 11 is the indemnification agreement. The applicant is fine with that. That's a typical condition. In response to Commissioner Deal's question, I think it's a broader project-to-project question, but with respect to this specific project, where this property is located, it's separated from the nearest public viewing corridor, which is Carmel Valley Road, by a distance, I'd say, of 3/4 of a mile to the north, and it's also separated by a ridge, a fairly large landform. So even with fire clearance, this project would not be visible from common public viewing area. So I just wanted to respond to that. We'd be happy to answer any questions and hope that the commissioners will approve the project with the findings, evidence, and conditions of approval as presented by Ms. Garcia. Thank you for your time.
Staff, do we have any questions for the applicant's representative? Don't see any hands. We'll open up to public comment on this item. If anybody would like to participate, please raise your hand. Don't see any hands. Ms. Magaña, can we please check to see if we have any electronic emails or anything on this item?
We have no written correspondence for this item.
Okay, thank you. We'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioners, Commissioner Deal?
Unless other commissioners have questions or comments, I'd like to go ahead and move staff's recommendation as amended in this hearing.
Thank you, Commissioner Deal.
Be happy to second. This is Commissioner Daniels.
Thank you, Commissioner Daniel. So we have a motion by Commissioner Deal and a second by Commissioner Daniel. Mr. Spencer, can we please take a vote?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Carrillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Kofelt,
Yes.
Commissioner Daniels,
Yes.
Commissioner Deal,
Yes.
Commissioner Getzelman,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Mendoza,
Yes.
Commissioner Monsalve,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts is absent, and Commissioner Work.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Spencer. Do we have any other matters for today's hearing?
Let me check. We don't have any scheduled matters. We can do the department report.
Let's do that.
Okay. So yesterday, the Board of Supervisors recognized Frida Escobar from our department on 30 years of service with the county in her retirement. She was in charge of our front counter operations, and we were sad to see her go, but happy for her. They also proclaimed October planning month. I haven't been involved in a planning month as long as I've been here, so it was great to have that recognition. Eric was at the board and did recognize specifically all of the citizens that participate in the planning process, including the planning commission and all of our land use advisory committees, all of our hardworking planners. So that was fun, and we had an ice cream social at the office after that. In terms of projects, the board did overturn the planning commission's decision on the Fernie Ranch map extension. If you'll recall, the planning commission approved a 3-year extension. That applicant appealed that decision to the board. Board granted 6 years. There was some new information provided as justification for that extension, including more time to work with nonprofit organizations, potentially to see if there was ability to transfer sale of the property to a nonprofit. And the other item was referral back to the planning commission of the Caltrans State Route 156 interchange project for review and recommendation of an LCP amendment to go with it. Caltrans has elected and agreed to go through the LCP amendment process That project was on appeal at the board, and the board hasn't acted on the appeal specifically other than to remand it back to the planning commission for a recommendation back to the board on the project, including an LCP amendment. So
They did act on the appeal. What they did was modify the planning commission approval and remand it back for a planning commission recommendation on the LCP amendment and some other discrete changes.
yes, I should say, didn't make a decision on the project approval or denial at this point.
Thank you. Commissioner Daniels?
Yes, I just have a question about that last item. If I remember correctly, the 156 interchange had some time constraints for funding that was going to expire. Is that something that we'll be able to see soon? Or when will we be seeing that so we can take action?
It will be coming to the planning commission soon.
Great, thank you.
We have November targeted.
Yeah, the
Awesome.
board remanded it for November 9th to you all. And
Thank
then
you.
asked that it return to the Board of Supervisors by December 6th.
Thank you.
Thank you both. I see a hand that is up. Margie Kay.
Thank you. I did speak at the Board of Supervisors via the Zoom, asking some questions on the 156 Castroville Boulevard interchange. And Craig gave he didn't answer one of my questions, so I'm gonna pose it once more. Hey, Craig. Yeah, longtime friends. So my question being that the North County Coastal Land Use Plan is from certified 1982. It has not been updated since. They've been working on the Moss Landing Community Plan for many years, and I think there's like maybe draft 5 now. But on the LCP amendment that is being looked at now for this interchange and changes. My question was that, does it fall under the 2010 general plan requirement for LCP amendments to be general plan amendments, that in the 2010 plan, there was a certain amount that could be done like quarterly, they could be grouped together. So my question being, will this be a general plan amendment that falls under the 2010 general plan? I know that there was the Salinas Road interchange on Highway 1. I was part of that committee. So I know that that one was done years ago, but that was, I think, prior to 2010. So my question being, does this fall under the 2010 general plan? I see Craig shaking his head no, so I'll let you go on and please explain that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Spencer, are you prepared to answer that?
Yeah, it doesn't fall. So let's see, how am I going to answer this? It wouldn't be considered a general plan amendment that would be restricted by the number of amendments that are allowed to be done per year under the Inland 2010 general plan. We are still restricted to 3 amendments per year for local coastal program amendments through the California Coastal Commission's office. Those 3 submittal packets per year can be groups of changes to the LCP. More than one ordinance can be grouped together in one application for an amendment to the LCP, but it's limited to 3 applications per year. And it's not tied to the policies of the general plan that limit general plan amendments. And we have not comprehensively updated our North County land use plan since the 80s. There's been a number of specific LUP amendments over the years that amended policies here and there, but no comprehensive update.
So
Thank you, Mr. Spencer.
I know, I just for clarification, I apologize, because this is good for the planning commission to know too. So it's going to be under the coastal commission rules, not the general plan 2010 rules on how these come forward. Thank you very much,
Thank
Chair.
you. The commissioners have any other questions? Or staff have anything else they would like to add before we end today's hearing?
Yeah, Craig mentioned it's National Planning Month. So I just wanted to publicly say thank you all for your time. I know you get a small stipend, although it doesn't compare to the amount of effort that goes into reading some of these planning documents. They're pretty comprehensive. I know we're speaking about the Caltrans project. I saw those packets go out, so I can't imagine the time that's gone into that. So I just want to say thank you for all of your hard work. And when you see the LUAC members, make sure to thank them as well. They put in a lot of time into this too, which results in a better product in the end, which includes our housing, our recreational spaces, the places where we conduct business. So thank you, and look forward to continuing to work with you all in this next year, 2023. It's going to be here before we know it.
Thank you. Commissioner Gettelman?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I appreciate that. Eric just stimulated a brain cell, of which I have very few left, but he did get to one of them. And that was that a suggestion that perhaps getting Michelle to send out a letter to the LUACs, telling them, I don't think they're even aware that there's a planning month, but telling them about that and thanking them on our behalf would be great if that could happen. Anyway, just a suggestion from me. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would like to add to that as well. I want to thank everybody for their participation and all the hard work they do for the county and the planning commission department. Thank you, everybody. That's why we have one of the best counties in California. And like I said, I've said this before, and I really believe that. Thank you, everybody, for everything you do for our county. And if anybody would like anything to add anything else, raise your hand. If not, we're going to end the meeting here shortly. See anybody? Thank you, everybody, for today's participation. I really appreciate it. Have a great day, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Great job.
Thank you all so much. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mr. Chair. I think that's a record.
Thank you.